Hi Leos, welcome to your December 2018 Tarology 33 reading. We have a Celtic Cross spread in front of us. That's normally a 10 card spread, but you did get an extra card in the position of the present situation. And then we also have an Oracle card that we'll read at the end to help tie everything together. So let's start going through these cards one by one. In the main situation position, we have the Nine of Swords. So this could just be saying that you're worried about something going on in your life. Maybe you're having a lot of nightmares. Maybe you're just not able to sleep because of anxiety. Could be a few ways that plays out. And this is actually a Gemini card for me, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury. And Mercury's retrograde right now, so that could be part of what's at play too. You could be reliving things from your past because Mercury's in that retrograde position. Should go direct, I think, around the end of the first week of December. But even so, there's still going to be a little bit of a time where it's still picking up speed and really, truly getting back to normal. So you could feel like a good chunk of December you might still be reliving things and clearing up things from the past. But overall, I would say what we look at when a card like this is in the main situation is I want to look at the challenger obstacle position to get a little more clarity on what it is. And in the challenger obstacle position, we have the Ace of Wands. So it is in the upright. So the way that I'm seeing this is there's a call for you to start something brand new in some area of your life, and that's what you have anxiety about. Maybe you're a little gun shy, maybe because of things that have happened in the past. That's certainly a possibility. Or maybe you just don't see how it could become more than just that, right? You're like, okay, I have this idea. I think it can be something, but how do I take it past just this Ace of Wands and build beyond that, right? So maybe that's what you're worrying about. So maybe you're just basically in the planning stages, and there's still so much retrograde energy around right now. Venus is still going to be coming out of shadow basically through part of December, and then like I said, Mercury will be retrograde part of December and then coming out of the shadow itself in December. And finally, when we move into January, we should feel all of that energy really cleared up by then. So, if you're still in the planning stages, taking December to do most of that isn't the worst thing. Normally I tell people, like people who say, oh, January 1st, I'm going to be a brand new person, and you're like, well, why don't you just start that now? Why are you going to wait for a date on the calendar? But this year, more than most, actually, I feel like January is going to be a really positive month for all signs. And what's going on for you guys right now, in December, a good chunk of December, the sun is going to be in your 5th house of Sagittarius. And you guys, you're the 5th sign of the zodiac, so you naturally rule the 5th house. So, on that level, it's going to feel like a comfortable energy for you. On another level, we have the fact that the sun is your ruler, so your sun is going to, wherever your sun goes, you take on that energy to an extent. And then we also have the fact that Jupiter is actually going to be in that 5th house too. So that could give you luck too with creativity and just make you feel more like yourself, more optimistic. A change from you guys have had a lot of eclipses going on in your sign, in your opposite sign, the past year and a half or so. That's finally subsiding, and you had some energy squaring you. So, overall energy should start to clear up, especially as we move into January. And so if you're feeling that 9 of Swords energy right now and stressed about which way to move forward, you don't necessarily have to jump into anything right now if you're not feeling it. Especially with the foundation position, we see the 4 of Swords. So to me, usually this is healing from something. It's the card after 3 of Swords. So for some of you, it could be heartbreak you're healing from, and that doesn't necessarily have to mean romantic relationships or anything. It could be anything, any disappointment you went through. Some of you might have even been health issues. This card represents the last 10 degrees of Libra too. So maybe what this is regarding as a whole could be something that happened around the middle 10 days of October when the sun was in those degrees of Libra. That's a possibility as well. Um, but really, with the 9 and then the 4 in the foundation, I would say if you do need to heal from something and really think something over before you make that next step, that might not be the worst thing. At the bottom of the deck, you have the Queen of Pentacles, which is a card about stability. That's usually my Capricorn court card. So, just taking on those Capricorn energies of stability, focus, and, again, they're someone who just plugs away at something and doesn't necessarily make drastic moves one way or the other either. At least on the basic level of that energy. So, something to keep in mind with that. In the past position, we have the Seven of Pentacles. So to me, I see this card a few different ways. None of it does the person in the card look too happy necessarily, but one way I view it is comparison, saying that one person, they might be looking at those 6 pentacles and saying, well, why does this person have 6 pentacles? I only have this one. You might feel like you put in the same amount of work as them, but they're ahead of you. That's one way it could play out. Another way it could play out is all 7 of those pentacles could be yours, but you're just looking back on how much work it took you to get those, and you're like, do I have it in me to continue to work that hard again to get 6, 5, 6 more? That's another way it could play out. Another way it could play out, if it's a relationship dynamic that you're dealing with, is it could be saying that maybe you feel like you've been putting in a lot more work than the other person. That's certainly one way it could play out. Or just in general, you're wondering, okay, we've put in a lot of work. Maybe you put in 6, 7 years, right? 7 months even for some of you if it's a newer relationship. And you're like, should I continue to move forward? Because no matter what, this person is like they're very fulfilled, right, with the position that they're in. And usually I see this as they're really thinking things over one way or the other, whether they're, like I said, they're comparing where they're at to others, or thinking about, are they going to invest more time and energy to continue to build on this, or should they just consider other avenues? So that could be what you're feeling right now. And that certainly would line up with that 9 of Swords energy, which is saying, all right, that you're not happy there. You have anxiety though about, all right, well, what do I do next? Maybe you have an idea of what you want to do, but how do you get there, right? Maybe that's the issue that you're dealing with right now. In the present position, we had the 2 cards, like I said, and we have the Page of Pentacles and the 10 of Cups. So these 2 cards can play out in a few different ways. I'll try to go through them one by one. One way I could see this is, let's say it's the relationship scenario that we were just talking about, right? Where you feel like you've put in a lot more work than the other person. And, maybe you've had an argument about that or whatever the case may be, and you were healing from that. Maybe you guys split up, especially with the Venus retrograde energy. That's a possibility that could have happened. And maybe now they're coming back around saying, oh, all right, I'll put in the work, I'll put in more work. But at the end of the day, it's still just the 1 pentacle, right? But, if you add those up, the 8 of Pentacles is a card about putting in work too. So maybe that's what they're saying. Okay, yeah, here I am going to put in more effort to make things work. And they might present it to you like, oh, we could have everything together, right? But with the Page energy, what I always say is those people, they don't necessarily, usually they mean well when they're in the upright. It's not that they're being deceptive. But like I usually say with the Page, look at their stance. Like he doesn't look very sure of himself, right? Like he doesn't really possess the pentacle fully. He has 1 foot in, 1 foot out. The pentacle's not fully in his grasp. Like look at the Queen of Pentacles, for example. She clearly has control over that pentacle. Whereas this person's kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, They might be presenting this image to you. Oh yeah, we could have everything together, but do they even really know how to get there is the question, right? So that's one way that could play out. If this is a career thing, I see it a slightly different way, which is to say, this could be you saying, you know what, I'm going to take one of those pentacles, right? So take some of your money that you have and invest in yourself to pursue what would make you happy. I'm not happy here, so I'm going to invest in myself to help me get to that stage where I'm happy. That's another possibility for some of you. So those are somewhat different messages, because this one to me is more negative if we look at it in the relationship sense than the one where it's saying if these are representing you, saying, okay, I'm going to take one of those pentacles, invest in myself to pursue what would make me happy. Versus, if it's a relationship, someone could be presenting to you, oh, yes, I'm going to put in more work, we'll have everything together. And then, is that really realistic? Yes or no, right? And especially with the card in the near future position, we have the Five of Swords. So, again, starting with that relationship scenario first, to me, this could be, again, someone promises you the world, right? Oh, yeah, I'm going to put in more work. We're going to have the Ten of Cups. We'll start a family, possibly even, right? Because you see the two kids in the picture with the two adults. So they might promise this grand vision to you, but I mean, look, it's cups on a rainbow, right? So is that necessarily realistic or tangible? Depends on the cards surrounding it. And in this particular case, it looks like it might not be realistic or tangible. And again, it might not even be that they're deceiving you. They could be deceiving themselves, really, and thinking, oh yeah, I can give you that, but they can't. So maybe that leads to an ego conflict of some kind, And if that's the case, it looks like no one really would come out the winner necessarily, but it could just de-escalate into one of those things, where you guys are just arguing and whatnot, and at the end of the day, was anything necessarily accomplished from it? Maybe not, but that's what I see there. Another way this could play out, though, is if you do invest in yourself, right? That pentacle is about you, and invest in yourself to get to this stage where you feel like you're fulfilling your dreams. Could be saying you're doing so in a very competitive field, right? So maybe it's a very cutthroat competitive field that you would be entering into. Or another way it could be too is, sometimes it's best to keep your plans to yourself to a certain extent, because there's always someone trying to poke holes in them, So if you're still in that stage where you're really trying to think it over and see if it really is tangible, like I said, if you're not seeing things too clearly now, come January, for almost everyone, the energies will be a lot better. But like I said, you're going to have Jupiter in your fifth house for pretty much most of next year, and the rest of this year too, for that matter. So that should definitely help you feel more like yourself in that regard, since you naturally rule the fifth house. So with it in your fifth house, that's going to help. And Jupiter is a pretty lucky planet too, so something to keep in mind there. In the position of your influence on the situation, we have the Six of Pentacles. So again, can't help but notice the Seven of Pentacles in the past move into the Six of Pentacles, right? So in one regard, it's like you lost one, right? But maybe it's because we said maybe you invested more in yourself, but at the same time, this person looks more fulfilled, right? Because they're helping these other people. So yeah, maybe you do invest in yourself. So, maybe you just get out of a corporate job, let's say. Maybe you just feel like it's a thankless thing. You work, you punch your clock, yeah, you get a paycheck, but you don't feel emotionally fulfilled, let's say, right? So maybe that's what that pentacle is about, saying, you know what? I'm going to take a bit of a pay cut, but I'm going to do something that makes me happier. I'll feel more fulfilled, right? So maybe you do something more charitable. For some of you, if you're going into business for yourself, maybe it's like a spiritual thing, Maybe you decide to become a tarot reader, who knows, sell crystals, plenty of things it could be, but, just something that to you would find more emotionally fulfilling in that regard. Like I said, this person with Six Pentacles seems to be a lot happier and more open than the person with Seven, right? So sometimes less is more in that regard. But this could also, to me, just be saying that you're looking for balance. So going back to that relationship dynamic, especially, right? If you felt like things were very unbalanced, okay, I feel like I'm putting in a lot more work than the other person. Maybe that's what the conflict is about. They come about and they tell you, oh yeah, I'm going to be different, we're going to do this. And you're just in a position where, okay, you really are putting in your half, but is the other person, right? And then what we have in the environment position, we have the Page of Swords. So to me, again, more page energy, and this time in the environment. So even though it's a different element, it could be the same person that we had in the Page of Pentacles card there. And again, look at their stance, right? So they're in the upright, so they might not necessarily be deceptive, but look at that stance again. Not very sure of themselves, right? The swords, in an awkward position. They're not really in the best position to use it right now, but again, I get that feeling, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, right? So it could just be someone you're dealing with that's non-committal. That's one way it could play out in a relationship sense, where they might be offering you things, but then when the chips are down and it's time for them to come through, they don't, because they're even unsure of themselves if it's what they want, or even if it's not unsure of what they want, maybe they do want you, but they just, what they're promising you, they can't fulfill. That could be the main thing at play there. Could also be if this is the person you argued with in the past, right? Given that they're looking at that Five of Swords card, maybe it's someone thinking about coming back to communicate with you, but they're unsure if that would be, how that would be received. That's certainly a possibility as well. And, if you do feel that you played a part in it, right? Maybe that's why the Nine of Swords is here. Maybe you do feel that you were being unfair as well, like you both had a part to play in this, which usually can be the case with the Five of Swords. Maybe that's what this Six of Pentacles is saying, that it's on you to restore the balance and move toward them, because maybe they do want to reconnect, and maybe they feel bad about it too, but they don't know how to come forward. So maybe that's saying, maybe it's up to you to extend the olive branch, reach out to them first. So you guys know which way that resonates for you the most, but I think in recent months, if it wasn't the November reading, maybe the October one, I was talking about stability and you guys just wanting stability. I mean, who doesn't to an extent, right? But I mean, that theme just keeps seeming to come up. Queen of Pentacles, very stable energy. Six of Pentacles, stable energy. And I mean, if we look in the environment, this is not as stable of an energy, right? So might just want someone to step their game up in some way, shape, or form. Let's put it that way, right? And again, with the stability theme in the hopes or fears position, we have the Three of Pentacles. I'm going to assume this is a hope, because this is a pretty good card. This actually represents the middle 10 degrees of Capricorn for me. So this could be, January. So maybe you're hoping by January to be in this position with more stability. That's one way it could play out. But it could just be saying more than anything, you're hoping to build something stable. And that's really the vibe that I'm getting. That, and maybe that's why this person promises you these things. Oh yeah, we'll start a family, we'll do this, we'll do that. But then they just don't have the wherewithal to make that happen right now. Again, like I said, it might not be that they don't want to. They might really want to do it, but they just can't do it right now. And even they're a bit clueless as to how to get there. That's a possibility. But at the same time, if that's the case, it's on them to be more forthright about that, right? And speak up and say, look, I don't know how to make it happen, but I want to at least put in the work, So at the end of the day, if that's what they're feeling, they need to speak on that anyway, rather than continuing to promise you things that they know they can't fulfill. And because obviously that's going to leave you feeling disappointed and probably pissed off and wanting to fight, right? So there's that. But yeah, and again, if it's the job thing too, I see this sometimes as trying to do your own thing, as opposed to, like I said, maybe moving out of a corporate job, trying to do your own business, or at least just do something that you find more fulfilling in some way. I view this as like when Venus transits to Saturn. So as opposed to the other way around, that Saturn transiting to Venus is a bit more harsh, but Venus transiting to Saturn could help, Saturn is a stable energy by itself, and then Venus coming in could infuse some beauty to it. So, that's what I get from this card. So definitely getting that stability vibe from you. And then in the outcome position, we have the Knight of Swords. So this could be playing out a few different ways. Maybe that's this person, right? The page stepping up to the knight at least. So at least showing you some growth and putting in some more effort. Being a little bit more sure about what they want. For some of you, it could mean that there's going to be, some conflict in communication. Trying to think of what else comes to mind. I mean, there's definitely a lot of messages that I get with this card sometimes, but I'm trying to put it in the context of this reading in particular. And, well, I mean, this could just be talking about the fact, too, that, again, Mercury will be going direct. And around mid-month, it'll be back in your 5th house. And again, with the 5th house being the house that you naturally rule, since you're the 5th sign of the zodiac, that could, you could feel that energy a bit more than you normally would. So maybe this is you really speaking up about what you want. That's certainly a possibility. Either way, this seems like it won't necessarily. I don't necessarily see it being the combative energy again, because especially you seem like you're really seeking stability, so I don't see you really coming towards someone in a combative way, unless it really is to finally cut them off for good. If they keep coming back around, right? If they keep trying to make different promises, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, and then they come back, all right, I'm going to do this, and you're just like, look, you got to go. That could be the possibility as well. Like I said, if it's them, at least that shows some progress, moving up from the page to the night, showing that they're more sure of what they want. So that could at least be helpful in that regard too. All right, let's take a look at the Oracle card and help tie everything together. We have building blocks. There's the artwork for it, and the number is 28 if that has any significance for you. I'll read the messages there, see how they tie into the reading. Well, like I said, with the theme of stability that I keep feeling, that definitely seems to match with that card, but we'll see what the specific messages are. I've seen the card before, I just don't remember all the messages. Alright, it says, strong foundations, a beautiful work in progress. The Oracle's message, you have everything you need to cultivate an extraordinary life. This is a time when your focus needs to be on the foundations you build upon. Your work, your relationships, and your very being are underwritten by your values, ethics, morals, and core beliefs. Are they still true for you? Will they stand the test of time and serve as the solid grounding upon which you construct your life? Now you are making changes that will affect everything in a positive way. Your destiny is truly a remarkable and beautiful design. So again, like I said, for some of you that could be, again, when I see the 7 of Pentacles in the past and then the 6 as your influence on the situation, and then that Page of Pentacles along with the 10 of Cups, that could just be saying that in some way you're paring down financially, like maybe you're taking a pay cut to do something that you know would make you happier, and then that ends up being the key to happiness and makes you feel like you're finally getting that forward movement that you've been seeking. That could be what the Knight of Swords is saying in that regard. And if that's the case, it doesn't, going from 7 to 6 doesn't sound like it would be the most drastic thing. We're not talking about going from 10 of Pentacles to 4 of Pentacles or something like that, so it doesn't seem like it'd be a huge pay cut, but maybe just something where you're like, maybe I thought I needed this kind of job to be happy, right? And maybe there's that guarantee that eventually, yes, this will turn into 6 Pentacles just like you have here, but it would take a lot of time and effort, and in the meantime, you don't seem very interested in doing the work, whatever it is, right? Whereas here, okay, yes, I have 6 Pentacles, but I feel like I'm giving back. I'm actually helping people who need it, whatever the case may be. So that could be what's at play there. The relationship message says, when you see this card, know that you are attracting new relationships into your life and solidifying the ones you already have by building them on the foundations of honesty, humility, clear communication, and a genuine desire to know one another. You are moving toward laying the groundwork for a relationship with the firm footing that will ensure it can withstand any storm. Long-standing relationships are also repaired and strengthened. You and the other person are stronger, wiser, and more powerful together than apart. So again, like I said, maybe especially with all the crazy retrograde energies, and you guys have had all those eclipses going on the past year and a half in your opposite sign, so maybe through all that there have been these ego battles between the two of you, and maybe with time you're realizing, okay, maybe I played a part in it as well. So maybe it's the other person who feels a little bit hesitant to reconnect because maybe, they're still hurt. Maybe that's them that was healing. Maybe both of you, right? So maybe this is saying now, especially with all the energy in your fifth house, you might be feeling more like yourself, more on top of things, and just ready to go for what you really want. So if that's the case, maybe that's saying that this could be you reaching out to someone, and maybe they're a little hesitant because they're like, oh, I don't know. They're remembering what happened here. So it could be them that's a little gun shy. But most of you, like I said, I feel that you guys are really the ones who have been on top of things, and maybe that's part of what it is too. You're cutting people out and demanding that you get what you want. You're like, you know what? This isn't good enough for me. I know what I'm worth. I know what I want, and I'm not going to settle for anything less, right? All right, and lastly, we'll read the prosperity message. It says, you have everything you need to turn iron into gold in the alchemical process of creating the prosperous life you desire. Now is the time to build on the strong foundation you have already laid for your prosperity. Keep in mind that these building blocks are imbued with the sparkling energy of your intentions. Own your dream and remember that you always have more than enough and you always are enough, so abundance is ever present. Your creativity is divinely inspired, and the design for your life is taking shape in service to the world. You are meant for success. So a few things come out to me there. Part of it was when it says, you always have more than enough. So maybe that's what this energy is. In the past, you were stuck in energy, like feeling like it's not enough. All right, this person has 6 pentacles. I only have 1. Why am I so far behind, right? Feeling like you had to be a part of that rat race. And maybe now you're like, you know what? I already have enough. And I have some to spare, some to give to others on at that, So maybe that's a shift in your energy there. Again, going back to those eclipses, which are now done in your sign. That, eclipses in your first house with the North Node, that forces some growth upon you too. So maybe that's what it is. It helps shift your perspective in some way. And then the part that says taking shape in service to the world. The design of your life is taking shape in service to the world. So I look at this again. That looks like this person helping these people, right? So service to the world. And that can mean anything. It doesn't have to be anything grand. Doesn't mean you have to be a philanthropist, but whatever way is unique to you where you feel like you're making a difference versus, like I said, just plugging away, feeling like you're alone and there's nothing really to be gained from what you're doing. So that's the vibe that I'm getting there. That's about all the messages I'm getting for this month, guys. So we'll wrap up there. If you guys are interested in a personal reading with me, you can check out the About section of my channel for that. But if not, happy holidays, and I'll see you guys next month. All right, bye.